Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
It's a nasty truism that some of the finest sense of humor, or maybe the cruelest sense of humor, emerges in dictatorial systems. And I speak from my experience of having traveled through Pakistan under the generals and also in the Eastern Bloc when it was still unraveling. So from my travels in the Soviet Union, in say Gorbachev years, I remember there were many jokes about communist rulers. Just as in Pakistan, there were many jokes about Zia, Musharraf, etc. So there was one that I remember from Soviet Union, which is a bit like this, that there is a train, lovely, luxurious Sarkari train going through Trans-Siberian Railway. In one of its saloons, you have Lenin, Stalin, Brezhnev and Gorbachev all sitting together and sipping vodka. Suddenly the train comes to a standstill. Why does the train come to a standstill? Because people come and report that there is no track ahead. But they said, we always thought the Trans-Siberian Railway was built. The party had lied. Even to us, we didn't know. Now what to do? So Lenin says, look, let's go look around. There will be some villages, bring some people. Let's all sing the International and some other revolutionary songs and we'll all get together and lay the rest of the track. Stalin said, stupid. That is not the way to do it. Yes, round up these people from nearby villages, just shoot a few, the rest will build the railway. Where is the problem? Everybody looked at Gorbachev, the youngest. Gorbachev said, if somebody can find me a secure phone, I can find my friend Ronald Reagan to seek his advice on what to do now. Brezhnev was still silent. So everybody now looked at Brezhnev. Brezhnev said, listen, you guys are nuts. There is enough vodka in this saloon. Now that there is enough vodka, just keep sipping vodka and presume that the train is moving. So the train will be moving. Now, if you look at the situation of our country right now, with the triple crisis, that is COVID graph going all up in the wrong direction, all going in the wrong direction. Our economic graph all going down in the wrong direction. And the Chinese walking all over our toes. So we are in a little bit of a situation like that our train has also come to its standstill in the middle of nowhere and there is no track ahead. But we are pretending also that everything is okay. So this situation is not very different because you have a distraction every day. Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, new scheme for pisciculture for fishermen, new scheme for education, a new plan for national health, etc. But everything is done to ignore the big crisis, which is the fact that there is no track ahead and the train can't move. So we are arguing in this national interest that our situation is no different from, say, what it was with the train stuck in the middle of Siberia with no track, except there is one difference. There is no vodka. At least there is no free Sarkari vodka. Now, how did we get here? Who is to blame? And what is the way ahead? If we look at the three problems that we have, one is, you can take them in any order, but let me say the first is coronavirus, because that is the more clear and present and that's been there for some time now. Now, coronavirus, you can say that Modi government is not to blame. It is an act of God, as Nirmala Sitharaman said. If anything, Modi government is not only not guilty of underestimating the problem, it may have overestimated it or it may have overreacted it. But we can see those things only with the benefit of hindsight, which doesn't matter so much. Unlike Donald Trump or Boris Johnson or Jair Bolsonaro, Modi government did not underplay the coronavirus threat. In fact, if you ask me now, again, it's with the benefit of hindsight, so you can't hold it against the government. The lockdown was too complete and was too early. And with that, the language used, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." The idea was good. The idea was to tell people that, look, this is not a situation that you trifle with. This is a deadly threat. And obviously, nobody knew at that point that the case fatality rate will be this much. Everybody was looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% because we were all looking at Spain and Italy. And we all thought if Spain and Italy can have up to 10%, then India with our health system, which means 1 out of 5 will just be knocked over. That having been said, the fact is that our lockdown came too early. It was too complete, and because we talked of "Jaan hai to jahan hai," it led to that panicky crisis with millions of, tens of millions of people walking back home, and a virus of the big cities being then taken to the most distant village of India. That, however, can be an error in retrospect. So on that one, we have to rest our case here. Second, the issue of the Chinese. Now, it's not as if Modi government invited the Chinese. The Chinese decided to come in. Why they decided to come in may be linked to the other two crises. They may have seen India particularly vulnerable now with coronavirus raging all over. India is the one big country in the world where coronavirus figures are all increasing on the wrong side, even now. So there was a rising corona crisis in India. And this had become quite evident by late April that India was not flattening the curve. And second, India had been having economic problems for almost 2 years now. So it's possible that the Chinese saw India at a very vulnerable moment. Also because this is the time when the world is distracted, particularly America is distracted. It's the election year there. So Xi Jinping then decided to move into Eastern Ladakh. Whatever his motives, some of those we tried to discuss in our Cut the Clutter episode 565. So you can check that out. Now that the Chinese come in, has the government handled the challenge well enough? Now you can argue on any side. I would say that since national interest, since military issues, since national defense is something which is mercifully not so polarized in India as yet. If you look at the picture very fairly, then this government has handled it quite reasonably well. One, because it has not allowed itself to be provoked into precipitate action. People are saying, oh, Nehru at least fought. What's the point? Nehru fought in the sense of the old concept of dying fighting. He knew that there was no way India was going to win that war. He just felt under pressure. He was so much under pressure that against his judgment and best instinct, he decided to go to war. This government hasn't done it. This government has also controlled the rhetoric at political and at government levels. There is a lot of pressure, name China, name China, name China, but that's been controlled. Third, at the same time, you can see that the armed forces have been given reasonable, in fact, pretty good tactical autonomy in terms of deployments, in terms of how they act, how they respond, etc., etc. So once again, that is something on which arguments then continue. So what are we complaining about? Then now we come to the third part, the third crisis, which is the economy. Now, as we said, Nirmala Sitharaman may be right to say that this quarter one of this year is an act of God. Arvind Panagadia, who I respect immensely, is a great economist. He has written an article saying that those who say that this 23.9% or whatever it is thereabouts decline is not only because of COVID and because of more fundamental reasons are wrong. He has logic, but this kind of decline is because of coronavirus. But for an economy like India at such a low base, to have the highest decline in the world in the coronavirus first quarter is unusual. That's why we all talk about the day after the nuclear war. We have to think about the day before. So what was the state of the economy the day before? Before April, there were no Chinese floating in Eastern Ladakh. Before April, there was no, or at least before mid-March, there was no coronavirus threat anywhere in India, or at least being seen as a major threat or pandemic or national crisis. So what is it that the economy looked like the day before this? There, if you see, you had 8 quarters of continuous and consistent decline in the economy. Can't blame the Chinese, can't blame the virus. How did that happen? Who shot through the wheels of a vehicle that was running beautifully and accelerating? That was India's economy until 2017. 2016-17, India's economy was quite robust. India was quite proud to say that we are the second largest, sometimes the second fastest, sometimes the fastest growing economy in the world. Now we have a situation where this year we will end up at a double figure growth decline in a year. This Indian population, 3 generations of Indians are not used to it. We have not seen such a thing before. How did we come to it? And that's where we have to examine a lot of our own economic decisions, or as in our government's decisions, beginning with demonetization, to instability at Reserve Bank of India, to then playing with national economic data, to then diffidence or hesitation or indecision on the reform of public sector banks, and then a sudden embracing of protectionism again, and increase in tariffs, which has now been going on for 3-4 years. All that had added to the economy, already the train of the economy already hurtling downwards. All that happened because of COVID it was like COVID removed the track ahead of it. So this train, without any power, without any control, is now going into a free fall. So Modi government has many questions to answer in terms of how did the economy get there until the quarter of March last year, and that is the 2 years preceding the quarter of March last year. So this is where we are right now, battling a triple crisis. China at the door, economy not recovering, in fact going down, job losses taking place, coronavirus numbers going up. What is it that the Modi government should be doing that it is not doing right now? So let me take you back to something I've been saying several times and repeatedly over the past 10 years. And if you go back on look at the archive of national interest, you will find this expression recurring many times. I have said that India now seems externally and internally, both externally and internally, more secure than it had done at any time in my lifetime. And sometimes I drew comparisons with the 60s. That was the most insecure decade for India. Now, if you look at the situation now, India does not look at its most secure externally or internally. Externally, India is now in the classic two-front situation that India must avoid. At the same time, there are issues coming up with other neighbors. Obviously, the Chinese are playing that game, but why should they not play that game? There are the inconsistencies among our friends, especially the US and Russia. So external situation is badly shot, but even the domestic situation is not great. And why do we say so? Because today we seem more divided than we were at any time recently, because we have a large sullen minority. We also have very polarized and very divided politics, where ruling party and the opposition are not talking with each other. Now, India has had a record of closing ranks in the time of a crisis. Economic crisis, all right, there is politics to economics. You can even say a pandemic, because there can be disagreements over how to handle it, and opposition also needs something to attack the government with. But a crisis like China, at the same time that you have a lot of internal fissures coming up, this is something that the government has to answer. So it is for the government now to find a way of suspending hostilities at home, hostilities internally, while the country deals with much bigger problems, especially the threat on its borders, because that cannot be done at the same time while playing while practicing divisive politics back home. So we know that elections are coming up in Bihar, we know that the elections are coming up in West Bengal, we know that Hindu-Muslim polarization is also key to the BJP's politics. This is not a time to dwell on issues like the temple, who's anti-national, who's a patriot. This is the time to presume that every Indian is a patriot. Also, this is not the time to trap the country in grand distractions like, say, this Riya Chakrabarti, Kangana Ranaut issue, in which among the various things that have been forgotten is the fact that somebody lost his life, namely Sushant Singh Rajput. So this is a call for India to get its focus back and to close ranks. And for that to happen, Modi government and Modi Shah BJP has to apply suspended animation to its politics internally, at least for a few months, until some of these crises either disappear or they lessen.